This Week in Richmond is made possible in part by Dignity Memorial, caring for our communities with a network of funeral homes and cemeteries in Virginia and throughout North America. More information about Dignity Memorial's providers is online at dignitymemorial.com. Alpha Natural Resources, an energy company dedicated to respecting the land. Alpha Natural Resources, we power the world through the energy of our people. Haley Buick GMC, the place for a new Verano or Terrain Denali, in Richmond and online at haleybuickgmc.com. Everywhere there are lighting poles, there's one more opportunity to save money. Intelligent Illuminations provides cost-effective wireless lighting solutions for roadway or area outdoor lights. The Virginia Chamber of Commerce, the voice of the Virginia business community, working in legislative, regulatory, and political arenas to promote the free enterprise system. So what do you do? Information about getting involved in advanced technology careers, making everything from clean energy to life-saving medicine, is available at dreamitdoitvirginia.com. Additional support is provided by these sponsors. And by the members of Virginia's public television stations. Thank you.
Welcome to This Week in Richmond, and welcome back to Secretary Todd Haymore. We appreciate your being on, Secretary of Agriculture and Forestry, two dynamic entities in part of the Virginia economy.
Right.
And there's lots of exciting things that have been happening. Start with, if you would, about the trade mission that you just completed with the governor.
Well, Dave, thanks for having me back again. It's
Yes.
always a pleasure to be with you. Yeah, we just got back on Thursday evening from about an 8-day trade mission. First leg of it was to China, where we honored a commitment that the governor made when we were securing the Tranlin pulp paper manufacturing facility in Chesterfield County. Governor told the chairman that as part of the deal closing, we would come to China and we would see their operations. We'd learn exactly what they do. They didn't tell us all their secrets, but they showed us how they go about making the process. And for me personally, that was very important because they're going to be making pulp and paper out of agricultural residues, the corn stalks, wheat stalks, barley stalks, soybean stalks, stuff that doesn't have a lot of value in the revenue stream right now, but will because this company's going to need it. So I had to see that for myself, and I saw more corn stalk and wheat stalk than I have in my entire life in about a 4-hour visit to the company. We also had some meetings over there with potential new trade partners and an executive reception that VEDP, Economic Development Partnership, hosted for the governor and the rest of us. So that was a whirlwind 4 days into China. Then we went to the United Kingdom, London specifically, and had another 4 days of more of a traditional trade mission. Governor spent a lot of his time focusing on the aerospace industry at the big air show that alternates between London and Paris every other year. And VEDP worked with him very closely. Secretary Jones was with us. So that was a big part of that mission. But for us on the ag and forestry side, we worked to close a few deals on some international trade, some new agricultural exports going to Great Britain, and also spent some time continuing efforts to promote the wood pellet industry from Virginia into the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom is making a move away from coal-fired power plants to biomass. And in turn, they're buying a lot of our wood pellets out of Virginia and exporting them from the port. In fact, the last 2 years, wood pellets have been the fastest growing agricultural commodity export from Virginia on a percentage basis into the global marketplace. So we had meetings there, a lot of good stuff, laid the groundwork for some potential new deals in the future. So that was in 8 days, and it went by. In fact, we counted it up when we got back. One solid day plus a handful of hours was spent in the air. So out of 8 days, we really only had 6.5 or so because of the time we had to spend traveling from the United States to China and China to Great Britain and then back home. But well worth it, and I believe that the trade missions have in the past yielded good return on investments for the taxpayers, and we make sure on this one that they'll continue to yield good solid returns.
So wood pellets replace soybeans as the fastest growing?
Soybeans continue to grow as
Right.
far as numeric, the pure numbers are concerned, the value. They're number one. But from a percentage basis, wood pellets have been incredibly fast growing. Just the first 5 months of this calendar year, wood pellet exports from Virginia to Europe are up about 275% over the same time period last year. So a lot of growth there. That's on a percentage basis. They're not going to come close to catching soybeans, tobacco, poultry,
Right,
some of the
right.
other very well-known agricultural commodities from Virginia. But very important as the European Union countries, the United Kingdom in particular, change the way they're producing power for their citizens. Our industries are able to capitalize on that and hopefully provide new jobs and opportunities for folks back here in Virginia, all the way from the port to the landowner.
When you sat down with a reporter when you came back, there was a quote that came from you that has just bounced all around on the internet, on blogs. In case our viewers haven't heard it, tell them what it was and then explain a little bit about what it means.
But the governor and his Rolodex.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I mentioned in a reporter in the Washington Post that the governor had a Rolodex on a global scale. And for those people who remember what a Rolodex is, it's a place where you have names and telephone numbers and people, not only in your family and your close friends, but business associates, people that you've gotten to know over the years. The Governor McAuliffe, has an incredible Rolodex. It's all probably stored in an iPhone or a BlackBerry or a combination of the two. But from his time in business over the years and his time in politics over the years, he's amassed just a global network of associates, friends, and we were able to tap into those. Now, I've lived it from the moment, actually he asked me to stay on board from the McDonnell administration to this administration. I've been able to utilize those contacts. But really, when you're out of Virginia is when you really see them. We've done 2 domestic trade missions. One was a trade and marketing mission to Chicago. Another was to San Diego. And I got to see a little bit there of the governor's connections in these different cities away from Virginia, away from these 4 walls. But being in China and being in the United Kingdom and seeing firsthand the connections that he's made over the years and able to sit down and talk with these people about opportunities for Virginia. Most of the meetings that I had were tied to trade. There were some investments, people, foreign entities that might be looking to make investments in Virginia. VDP, Secretary Jones, I know they were able to tap into that Rolodex as well. A lot of the meetings that they took were from governor's connections. So it's opening up some new doors for us. That Rolodex and those connections do not guarantee deals. I make that very, very clear. I made that very clear in the interview that I did. But they open up opportunities. And you've got to have that opening shot to set in motion, putting a purchaser and a seller together. And that's the governor's connections around the world have been very important. It's one that we want to continue to capitalize on. I joked with him on the trade mission. I said, if you ever find your BlackBerry or your iPhone missing, don't look very hard because it's gone forever. But I'm going to grab it and look into it and try to duplicate it. But it's a great asset for the state, and it's again one that we should all be thankful for because they do open up new opportunities for us, and then it comes back to us and the private sector to help make those deals happen.
Now, go back to the company in China making paper from almost waste products, in a sense, are being used. I would assume they've been doing this for a while.
A long time, very long time, and really very proud of the work they do. They're very, very proud's the best word, I guess, to describe of what they're doing, how they do it. They don't give you the secrets. They were very careful about that. I think it's a very, very proprietary set of things that they're doing there that they want to keep very, very close. But the quality of the product that we've seen both here and there last week is first class. Some of those products are already going into the retail chain, including here in America. The Whole Foods is already buying some of their products, so it's not like this is a completely foreign operation to the United States. But yes, they're making pulp paper out of agricultural residues. Some of the corn stalks that you see in the field after they've been harvested. They're obviously the agribusinesses are looking for the corn for silage to feed their animals, feed their livestock. But there's a portion that is left behind that in some cases is obviously goes back into the earth and is natural fertilizer. This company wants a section of that residue, that waste, and they're still going to leave. It's not going to be a clean field. There's still going to be that organic material that will break down and go back into the earth as fertilizer and part of the no-till farming process that you hear a lot about. So this company utilizes a certain part right now of that leftover plant to make the pulp paper. There's no bleaching involved, so the paper products that we saw all had sort of a beige tint to it. So it's just a really, really interesting process. And again, I don't know a lot about the pulp paper manufacturing side, but what I do know from visiting operations here in Virginia and now in China is that they're both making high quality products, and this one just happens to be coming in, the Tranlin group happens to be coming in making it out of agricultural residue. So new revenue streams for our growers. We estimate that once they're up and running fully, by 2020, it could be about $50 million a year in new revenue for our growing community. It's a lot of money going back into places in Southside Virginia, where I'm from, Southwest Virginia, Southeastern Virginia, Northern Neck, Eastern Shore, go on, and other states are going to benefit from this as well. The research that we had to do to help with this showed that North Carolina and other neighboring states are going to be needed to source this material too. So huge win for Virginia, Chesterfield County, $2 billion investment, 2,000 plus jobs, but a really, really big win for our agricultural producers too, because it gives them new opportunities to have revenue off of something that they may not be getting a lot of revenue off of right now.
With your experience with the agricultural communities in Virginia, do you envision that there'll be more corn that'll be planted right now, where maybe some are not doing as much corn on their farms?
I hope so. I mean, part of what we do, every trade deal that we try to facilitate between the buyer and the seller, comes back to me personally as another opportunity for our growers to have more opportunities to grow products on their farm. And that's where I came from, was born and raised on my grandparents' farm just outside of Danville. And my grandfather used to say the best way to keep a farmer farming was keep them profitable. So all these trade deals that we work on, fundamentally for me, comes back to giving growers more opportunity. Certainly with the Tranlin Group and the need for this agricultural residue waste product, hopefully it'll be more opportunity for producers, but more on the trade side, as far as more corn being planted, more soybeans being planted, other crops, that's where we really, really try to make things happen. There's a lot of underutilized land in Virginia, particularly where I'm from. A lot of the tobacco fields that produced acres and acres and acres, in some cases are sitting idle. I know my family farm has not been utilized fully over the last few years, and that's just one small example of a lot of farms that maybe could produce more, and we want them to, because we want to keep that land farming. We want to be providing new opportunities for them to sell their products into the marketplace, be it domestic or globally. That's more revenue for them, more tax dollars in the locality, more opportunities for those growers to plow that money back into their operation, grow it, hire new people, and new opportunities for the community. So to answer your question, I hope it does provide some new opportunities, and we're going to keep our work going forward to try to find more global trade opportunities for our producers and agribusinesses.
I'll make a comment, and you're welcome to comment in return or move on. But with so many things being political here around the Capitol, I mean, what you almost could say what's not. I thought it was rather delightful that this economic development came to Chesterfield County. If it had come to a county that was extremely blue, a Democratic county, I think there would have been some howling and some complaining that was going on. And I was delighted to see that it came to the place where where they wanted to locate, but it was a county that no one can accuse of being a Democratic county. That it's
the jobs, there's no such thing as a Republican
Right.
job, no such thing as a Democrat job. Everybody needs jobs, everybody needs those opportunities. And when this process, and I'm not an economic developer expert, I get to work closely with BEDP and Martin Briley and Secretary Jones and the team, and that's one of the great pleasures of continuing the work that I'm doing in the governor's office, but I'm not an expert. But what I have learned over the years is that these projects typically find the place that's best fit for them. And there were 3 or 4 localities that were in competition for this, and Chesterfield just happened to rise to the top. Unfortunately, there's always the localities that don't win out, but I think that My understanding is that everybody learns a little bit more about themselves and they can better themselves for the next project that comes along. It may not be a $2 billion investment. It may, may not be 2,000 jobs, but the next opportunity, they're better positioned to capture it. And the localities that didn't get it, I hope have learned from that and will be in better position next time. But yeah, I think economic development is about as bipartisan as it gets. I think certainly agriculture is as bipartisan as it gets, and so there's no such thing as a red or blue, ag development or economic development site. It all comes down to everybody needing jobs and opportunities. So Chesterfield just happened to be the winner on this one, and congrats to Jay Stegmeyer and the team over there. They did a great job of working with the state to make it happen.
And as probably our viewers know, particularly if they're involved in any way in economic development, localities do compete against each other. So there were, I'm sure, ones were in other states that were competing, and then when it was Virginia, that there were some of our Virginia localities that wish they could have had the success that Chesterfield did on this.
Absolutely. It is a true global market. We're not just competing against our next door neighbors, our next counties, our next states. I mean, you're competing against other countries. And that's why, again, Virginia needs to be even more active than we are right now. And I think we will be ratcheting it up to another level and promoting ourselves, making sure that we stay right there at the very top. These listings like Forbes saying that we're the best state in America for doing business. Again, those are the kind of things that help sell and give these localities, and gives the state as a whole more opportunities to pitch itself. And the events that the two domestic trade missions that we've done, Chicago and San Diego, we partnered with Forbes to celebrate the fact that we were the best state in America for doing business. We'll do that again later this year, but we uttered those words throughout the trade mission to China, throughout the trade mission to the United Kingdom last week, over and over and over. So yes, you're competing against your next door neighbor, but you're also competing against India, China, London, other places all around the world.
Now, the other major side of your whole secretariat is forestry.
Yes.
So tell us what's happening in the forestry world in the Commonwealth.
Well, the big thing, just tied back into exports we talked about earlier, is the wood pellets. Obviously, that is we consider that an agricultural export, but it's a forest product,
yes.
And that's a big umbrella, agricultural exports. But those products, that's one of the faster growing. But the bigger news that we've had of late is we have a brand new state forester. Bettina Ring is the new state forester, and she's doing a great job running the Department of Forestry now and leading the way up there in Charlottesville at that outpost. But a lot of good things going on in the forestry sector too. Most of my work that I'm doing with forestry is tied back to the exports and economic development here domestically. But we're really excited about Bettina and her team being on board and working with us to promote Virginia forestry, not only here in Virginia, making sure that we have a sustainable forest, that we're doing everything that we can from our role in the public sector to work with the private sector to make sure we have an abundant, sustainable forest for not only this generation but future ones to come, but also trying to find new opportunities for those products in the global marketplace. I do think right now it's a good time to be in the forestry industry. They suffered pretty heavily during the recession. In fact, about $7 billion in annual revenue we showed was lost from 2008 to 2012 time period. A lot of annual revenue lost there. Coming back. The housing market's coming back slowly. Obviously, all the things that are tied to the housing market come back around to the forestry. And then you've got these export opportunities. So I think it's bright horizon for the forestry industry, and my team at the Department of Agriculture and International Marketing, and obviously the folks at the Department of Forestry are going to continue all their efforts and grow that industry. It's the third largest sector of Virginia economy. Agriculture's first, at about $50 billion a year in annual revenue. Tourism is second, so all the work that we do with Virginia Tourism Corporation is very important. And then forestry is the third largest sector of the economy. So good things all around there.
Now, it's an interesting part of your work also involves the water quality in the Chesapeake Bay, where you work with other cabinet secretaries.
Yep, we do. We work very closely with Secretary of Natural Resources. My deputy, Travis Hill, when Travis came on board a little more than 3 years ago, one of the top priorities for him was working with the Secretary of Natural Resources to be sure that agriculture had a seat at the table. And not to say that natural resources was leaving out agriculture. That wasn't the case. But they wanted to be sure that agriculture had an actual seat at the table as we were going through the work that we were endeavoring with the EPA and other states on enhancing the water quality of the Chesapeake Bay. So big thing with farmers, and I think I've said this to you before, I believe they were the first environmentalists. My grandfather was an environmentalist before the word was ever invented. They're the best stewards of the land. You're always going to find someone who may be an outlier, who may not be doing all the right things that they should be, but by and large, overwhelmingly, those farmers want to do the right things for their land, their water resources, because they know if they take care of their land, they know if they take care of their water, it's going to take care of them. It's going to give them more opportunities to produce the products that we're trying to help them market in the global marketplace. So yes, the issues that are we're going on with the EPA, we're sitting there with Secretary Ward and her team. Travis, I know, was just in Annapolis a few weeks ago with the governor and Secretary Ward on the latest discussions on the Chesapeake Bay cleanup. So we're very proud of the work we're doing. Farmers deserve a lot of credit for the enhancements that they're making at their farming operations to improve water quality. So a lot of things going on there too, but a lot of unfinished business as well.
Now, the Marine Products Board, is that something that's jointly between secretariats, or is that primarily in yours?
Well, the Marine Products Board is there. Obviously, there's a lot of work that goes on between my secretariat and Natural Resources again, but we work with them very, very closely to promote aquaculture, marine products in the global marketplace. And that's another, in fact, some of the meetings that we had in London last week were about more marine product exports from Virginia to the United Kingdom, to other countries in the European Union. So yes, that falls under me, but a lot of partnership work. In fact, this morning in Cabinet, we must have discussed the oyster issues at the state and how that covers or goes over several different secretariats, and the work that all of us are trying to do to promote the oyster industry, grow it, and have more opportunities for our producers. So yeah, a lot of exciting things going on in the aquaculture and marine products industries as well.
Now, talking about how the cabinet secretaries work together, you mentioned before we started the program that when you were in London, I believe, that doing some things with tourism there.
Yeah.
Tell our viewers.
Well, tourism put together a great event promoting Virginia as the birthplace of country music, specifically Bristol. And there's a lot of things coming out this year in the music industry tied to the birthplace of country music. Bristol having a nice focus. Some internationally acclaimed musicians are going to be part of this effort. It'll be coming out later. But tourism, as they do on all of our trade missions, typically have one dedicated Virginia promotion event. And what they do so well is not only promote Virginia, but they bring in the products. In this case, you had country music. There were several musicians from Southwest and Southside Virginia. In fact, the Church Sisters from outside of my hometown, Danville, Virginia, were there featured, and they came over and performed. But we also brought in Virginia wine, Virginia craft beer, Virginia ciders, Virginia scallops, peanuts, other agricultural commodities there to tie all this together. So it was a great, great joint effort between tourism, Virginia Tourism Corporation, Rita McClenny, Diane Baychamp, and that entire gang over there doing great jobs. We love partnering with them, and it was a really fun event that we believe will not only get more people from the United Kingdom to come to Virginia, but also give us more opportunities to sell our agricultural products from Virginia to the United Kingdom and beyond. So great joint effort. And I think it's one of the things that we're doing really, really well over the last 4 years or so is breaking down these silos in state government, working together and really cross-pollinating, as it were, for lack of a better expression, and making sure that we're really highlighting all that Virginia has to offer. So the partnerships that we have with Tourism Corporation, Economic Development Partnership, Martin Briley and his team are invaluable. And one of the great things about being in state government is working with each one of those entities.
Before our last minute gets back, what are some of the big things you're going to be working on?
Oh, wow, David, this is a curveball. I was never very good at hitting curveballs.
Well, that could take another entire program.
Yeah, no, I know. There's a lot of things going on. I mean, we've got now 10 international trade offices: China, India, Russia, outside London, Canada, Mexico, Costa Rica. So we are really, really working hard to grow exports. And we've had last 4 years all-time highs reached in ag exports from Virginia. Governor has said he wants to make Virginia the East Coast capital for agricultural exports. We're about third now behind Georgia and North Carolina, so we've got some work to do. It's going to take a combination of new investments in Virginia to get more product out but also more of these trade deals that we're going to try to focus in on. So a combination of exports and agricultural development, continuing the work that we're doing to help existing agribusinesses expand, recruit new agribusinesses to the state. So that means a lot of partnership work, obviously mentioned with BEDP, Secretary Jones, but the governor's leading this effort, and we're going to tap into that global Rolodex that he has. And
excellent. Well, you hit the home run.
Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Todd Haymore, and we'll be with you again.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
This Week in Richmond is made possible in part by Dignity Memorial, caring for our communities with a network of funeral homes and cemeteries in Virginia and throughout North America. More information about Dignity Memorial's providers is online at dignitymemorial.com. Alpha Natural Resources, an energy company dedicated to respecting the land. Alpha Natural Resources, we power the world through the energy of our people. Haley Buick GMC, the place for a new Verano or Terrain Denali, in Richmond and online at haleybuickgmc.com. Everywhere there are lighting poles, there's one more opportunity to save money. Intelligent Illuminations provides cost-effective wireless lighting solutions for roadway or area outdoor lights. The Virginia Chamber of Commerce, the voice of the Virginia business community, working in legislative, regulatory, and political arenas to promote the free enterprise system. So what do you do? Information about getting involved in advanced technology careers, making everything from clean energy to life-saving medicine, is available at dreamitdoitvirginia.com. Additional support is provided by these sponsors. And by the members of Virginia's public television stations. Thank you.